Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, on Sunday said that the Democrats do not have a vision for the future. You have Democrats appropriately, and I'm working with them, talking about Trump's movement towards authoritarianism, vigorously opposing the so called reconciliation bill to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks for the 1% and make massive cuts to Medicaid, nutrition, and housing, opposing what Musk is doing to this member, the Social Security Administration and the Veterans Administration, making it hard for our veterans to get decent health care or benefits on time, Sanders told NBC News' Kirsten Walker on Meet the Press. We're on the same page. What Democrats lack right now is a vision for the future, he added, following up his statement with questions about fixing a broken healthcare system and increasing the minimum wage. Those are some of the issues that need to be discussed, Sanders said. In the wake of November's elections, Sanders accused the Democratic Party of significantly ignoring working class priorities, pointing to it as the largest reason behind Democrats' loss of the White House and Senate. It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class has abandoned them, Sanders said in a statement at the time. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. So then they mentioned later in the article that Sanders and AOC have been on their little fighting oligarchy tour, and I'm not. That's not what this is about. Um, I agree. They lack a vision for the future. You know, you look at Trump's campaign. You know, whether it was 2016, 2020, or 2024, and I think 2024 was the weakest of them. But still, there are central themes. Immigration, veterans benefits, without like nothing specific, but just like general. Well, immigration was specific, but general ideas of going and talking about working class people, even if it's in the vaguest sense and not sincere in the slightest. If you go and watch any speech or public remarks given by, it could be Jeffries, Schumer, any of the people that are supposedly the leadership. I mean, hell, Harris, any of the people who are supposed to be the current, either indirectly or officially the leaders of this party, they're not doing anything. They're not. Their entire agenda is I am opposed to Trump, except when it has to do with something like Israel, for example, because everybody's bootlicking for Netanyahu on that one. But my point is that if you're like a regular guy, like a regular vote, middle of the road independent voter, if you look at the Democrats versus the Republicans, even if you think the Republicans are crude or whatever other crap, you would still acknowledge that there's a central unified message behind them of deporting everybody, giving the rich tax cuts. Uh, let's not forget the new one, firing all these different people from their jobs they've had for 20 or 30 years. But with the Democrats, they don't really have any strategy whatsoever. Even if they're opposed to these things, I mean, you saw Jeffries, right, the Democratic leader in the House. There's an infamous clip of him that's been played repeatedly where he's like, what leverage do we have? Openly admitting that he's going to sit in his little crappy House seat for the next 2 years, possibly four. He'll probably get reelected. And as long as the Republicans have majorities, just do nothing. Don't raise the alarm. Don't highlight any issues. Don't. I mean, it is embarrassing that the Democrats have the leaders that they do. These people do not stand for a single goddamn thing except getting themselves reelected every 2 to 6 years so they can sell in their seats for the rest of their lives and collect money for them and their kin, while the rest of us sit in these burning buildings, getting nothing from their supposed political talents, but more empty rhetoric that doesn't actually stop any of this crap from happening. If the Democrats were worth anything, right, with their little, even though they don't have a majority in either chamber of Congress, uh, they would campaign vigorously. Go to red states and say, hey, listen, whether you agree with us on healthcare, and we don't even know what our party's position on that is, but that's a whole other issue. Whether you agree with us on immigration, if you're a federal worker who's been laid off, we stand with you. We don't want you to be fired from your job. Trump's supposed to be the businessman president, right? Why is he firing people and laying them off? Doesn't he know that's going to mess up the economy and screw up anyone's desire to buy anything when they don't have a damn job? But they don't. Again, the closest you get from the leadership of this horrendous party are these little appearances on, CNN, Fox, and actually scratch that. They never go on Fox because they're cowardly. They're so afraid to go anywhere where they may get the tiniest opposition that they won't go on one of the networks that has a majority of the voters that they are trying to impress or reach out to, that normally don't even like pay attention to them. It's nuts. But yeah, he's right. I agreed with him when we had the election results. It's so sad because, and I mean this sincerely, Trump, if I'm being kind, he can be funny. Sometimes he can take a position on an issue that's popular, right? But he has given the Democrats ample ammunition to bury his party within the next 2 years, this midterm that's coming up, where all they have to do is go around and say, hey, listen, you gave these guys a government trifecta, and they gave you a kick in the backside by getting a whole bunch of people fired from their jobs, right? With these goofy layoffs via email, tariffs that make things cost more. Everybody was talking about Biden's inflation. How you like your Trump inflation? Trumpflation? How's that feel? And that's why it's so frustrating to watch this stuff, because I don't support the Republicans, but I'm not going to support Democrats, or as I call them, Democlowns, if they're going to leave the voters out to dry. Like if they cannot effectively take an extremely increasingly unpopular president and stick his lack of popularity across the rest of the party in districts that are, purple and willing to flip, then they deserve to lose every election from now until the end of time. I mean, it is a disgrace that they have nothing to run on, even though it's right there in front of them. Like, I would even be a compromised person. So, okay, they're not going to come out for single payer. They're not going to come out for free college, right? Green New Deal, etc. They're not going to actually do anything I like, so whatever. But even the most basic thing of actually fighting, the president they were elected to oppose when he does the things that are, in the words of Sanders, authoritarian and stripping people of their rights. They can't even do that well. I mean, it's sad. You're seeing nothing but a waste of people's time and money with these politicians who, like I said, whose only concern, whether it's Jeffries, Schumer, Pelosi, Harris, any of these people, their only concern is getting themselves elected to some job for 2 to 6 years, and then profiting off of that position while the rest of us go further and further down the sinking ship that is the state of current America. I mean, again, if the Democrats were even a half populist party, they would say, hey, listen, you have a majority of your country poor. Like minimum wage, right? Still $7.25. Why don't they ever talk about raising it? Ever. It's always Bernie and then maybe 2 or 3 other people that say something. And besides that, it's it is insane how easy it would be for them to critique or otherwise go after the Republicans, but they're just not doing it. They're so in bed with Wall Street and the rest of these damn donors that they have effectively mummified their arguments. They will not say certain things about their opposition, and that's why this party deserves any fate that it gets. I feel bad for the voters, but this is the state of American politics. A bunch of idiots in suits and ties who get to basically do little to nothing except run for office every 2 to 6 years, while the rest of us suffer. It's really, really sad.